Hey Leroy, turn it on. Okay, Uncle Shady.
You're listening to BWWR, the Banger Worldwide Radio Network.
The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Scheduled programming to bring you a show on the edge, broadcasting worldwide and out to the greater universe. You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings, and alert the media. We have a special 60 minutes headed your way. Welcome, my friends. This hour, we pay tribute to one of my most influential radio hosts, Milton William Cooper, host of Hour of the Time. Let's begin with Bill giving you a little bit of an introduction at a lecture that was right here in Lansing, Michigan in the 90s.
What I'm going to talk to you about today comes from my heart, from my experience in life, from playing this role as messenger, which I take very seriously, from my efforts to wake up the American people, from my family, from all the letters that I get, from people that I talk to, just like I've talked to many of you here today. I've learned some things, and I think these things need to be passed on to you. And I think you need to start examining yourself, your agenda, your mission. Who are you? What are you about? What do you believe about America? Is it true? Are you helping to divide us more, or are you helping to bring us together? Do you really understand what this country is all about?
Here, Bill gives a little bit of his backstory so you understand where he comes from.
I was reared in a military family. My father's an Air Force colonel. He's retired now. He was a command pilot. And I traveled all over the world, lived on military bases for most of my life. I was really an indoctrinated individual, you might say. I was as establishment as you could get, as gung-ho, pro-government, pro-America, pro-military. And that's why I went into the military, because that had been so much of my life. I went into the Air Force. I was in the Strategic Air Command for 4 years as an aircraft and missile hydraulic technician.
Soon after that, he went into the Navy and became a naval intelligence officer.
But they thought I was one of them. It was an accident that I got in there. I'd been a member of the Demolay Society when I was 13 years old, only attended 3 meetings, and then my father was transferred to Japan. I never saw another lodge and never went to another meeting, and that was the end of that. When I filled out all my documentation for my top secret QSI security clearance, which was required to be able to work in the command center and on the briefing team at CINPAC Fleet, I didn't see Demolay on there, so I checked Freemason. And when I checked Freemason, that's what opened all the doors and got me the security clearance and put me in those positions to be able to see what I saw, and I think the hand of God was working when that happened so that I would be able to warn his people of what was coming. And I've been doing that ever since.
Here, Bill talks a little bit more about the intelligence information that he was able to see.
When they began to have confidence in me, I began to see things coming across my desk that were just absolutely incredible. And a lot of it is really hard to talk about because it's so far outside the normal concept of reality for the average American that they're going to find a hard time believing any of it. Mm-hmm. But I saw documents that were labeled under the classification top secret, and the compartmentalized the compartment that was put into was called MAGIC, M-A-J-I-C, which told me that that UFOs are real, which I already knew. I'd seen one.
Right.
But this went farther than that. It told me that they were extraterrestrial in origin, that there were 4 different extraterrestrial species or races visiting this Earth, and that they had actually entered into an agreement with the United States government with one of these species of alien beings to exchange technology, and it told me all the projects that was underneath this. Project Red Light was actually the testing of extraterrestrial craft. Project Plato was a diplomatic project. Pounce was the recovery of technology. Pluto was the application of that technology to our own secret space program, not the public space program. There are 2 different space programs. One is what the public gets to see, which is overseen by NASA, and the other one is a secret space program that nobody gets to see, which is really overseen by the Navy Department under specialized, compartmentalized black projects. I also saw documents under an operation called Operation Majority, which outlined the plans to bring together a one-world government. It also included extraterrestrial information within that. Project Grudge, which was the second project. First was Sign, and then Project Grudge, which contained all of the extraterrestrial information up to a certain point. I forget the year cutoff. And then it was contained after that in another project called Project Aquarius, which was the accumulation of the whole history of alien interaction on planet Earth. But I have to say at this point that I don't know if those documents were really telling the truth or not. They could have been showing me these things so that eventually I would go out and talk about this. And maybe that'll become clear to you later why they may have done that.
Years after leaving the military, he continued to research, and he felt compelled to let the world know.
And that's how I protected myself, or at least that's what I thought would protect me, and so far it's proven to be right, was that if I got literally in front of the public overnight, in front of a large public, that they wouldn't do anything to me because it would substantiate what it was that I'm saying. And they certainly don't want to do that. It would also create a martyr. And martyrs create tremendously dangerous political movements that they don't want that either. So literally within a 24-hour period, I spent $27,000 mailing a thick packet of information all over the world to people I'd never heard of, didn't know. We went down and got some mailing lists and just mailed this stuff all over the world. And I've been in front of the public ever since. So I think basically those are the reasons. They don't believe that the public's really going to listen to me, and so far that's been true. There is a small group of people all over the world who are awakening, who are beginning to understand that they've been living their life in fantasy land, and who are actively seeking the truth. But by and large, when the secret power structure says, as I've put in the first chapter of my book, right out of one of their own technical manuals, that a nation or world of people who do not use their intelligence are no better than animals who do not have intelligence, and thus are stakes on the table by choice and consent. They're absolutely right about the majority of people.
Next, he explains a little bit about his book, Behold a Pale Horse.
This title is from the book of Revelations, because I have to tell you this, and you may think I'm nuts if you want to, but this is the truth. Either these men are following the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation is it is in the Bible. They're either following it, just like a plan, and bringing the prophecies in there to pass to manipulate and control those who believe in those prophecies and neutralize them, so to speak. In other words, if this is written in the Bible and God has ordained it, who am I to resist? It must come to pass, so I'm not going to try to stop it. What a perfect way to neutralize the opposition right off the bat. Or there really is a God, and what he said was going to come to pass is coming to pass. And I named this Behold a Pale Horse from chapter 13 of the book of Revelations. The fourth horse, the fourth horseman of the apocalypse, is the pale horse. And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death, and hell followed with him, And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with the beasts of the earth. And that is taking place now today. The fourth horseman is riding across the world now. That's what AIDS is all about. That's what all these little brush fire wars all over the world are all about. That's what's happening. That's why cancer cures are suppressed. So it's not hidden at all. It's there for anybody who wants to look.
Bill always had an admonition, and I took it on myself when I began this journey on the radio. And that was, well, let me let you hear it in his own words. You've heard me say this before.
Before I go any farther, though, I'm going to have to give you my standard admonition that all of those who have come to my lectures, who have read my book, everyone who has been listening to this show on satellite or on WWCR since its inception on the 4th of May, 1982, they already know this, but I know that there's many new listeners out there tonight. So I'm going to give you this admonition, and you must obey it no matter what. You must not believe anything that you hear on this show, or on the Chuck Harder Show, or on the Tom Valentine Show, or on Larry King Live, or from the lips of Dan Rather, or George Bush, or Bill Clinton, or anyone else in this entire world, whether you hear it on radio or on television or from the lips of someone standing right in front of you. But you must listen to everyone, no matter who they are or what they are saying. For that is the true mark of intelligence. Listen to everything, believe nothing until you can prove, you yourself. You must learn how to find the truth and prove it. If you can't do that, you might as well turn off your radio now. If you have to call someone else to ask if you should be listening to this show, you should turn off your radio now. We don't even want you to listen. Understand, folks, that only free-thinking, intelligent people who are prepared to root through all the crap and get at the truth should be listening to this show and nobody else. My admonition is the same with reading, whether it be newspapers or books or tea leaves. I don't care what it is. Read everything, believe nothing, until you can prove through your own efforts whether it is true or false, or lies somewhere in between in the many shades of gray. If you cannot do this, or will not do this, or just plain too lazy to do this, then I can assure you that you will march into the New World Order as a docile slave. Bah, bah, buying all the way. For only free-thinking people who listen to everything and read everything ever come close to the truth, and I can assure you that it is elusive. Everyone else are just puppets on the end of someone's string, and when that person pulls that string, those puppets dance right on cue, because that's exactly what they are supposed to do. I told you that this was not any kind of a radio broadcast that you've ever heard or ever will hear anywhere else.
Now, before we go to break, I want you to hear a little bit of what William Cooper said at some of his lectures. The people who speak badly of this gentleman totally missed the boat and are telling you propaganda, because this guy is the real deal. Take a listen.
So that we get started off on the right foot, I'd like to preface my talk with something I think you need to hear to put you in the proper frame of mind and keep you, I hope, from becoming afraid. Fear is a worse enemy than any other thing that we have to face. Ladies and gentlemen, the world needs to hear the truth. It's long overdue.
The world also needs more peace, compassion, and cooperation. We already have too much fear and confusion. And too many people are feeling hopeless and victimized. What is offered here is startling information. And what we ask is that if you choose to accept it, you do so with the understanding that it would not come to our attention now if we did not have the ability to successfully respond.
Folks, we've got to take our first time out, but we'll continue our special broadcast. Milton William Cooper, the radio host of The Hour of the Time. On the other side of this, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere now.
John will be right back right after this.
Yes, he will. Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-'70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled, and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now. You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's hydroponic radio for your brain, man.
Feel smarter yet? Welcome back, my friends. In that first segment, you got a basic introduction of William Cooper. There's no way we'll be able to cover everything that William Cooper was involved with because it's so vast. He had hundreds and hundreds of broadcasts over 10 plus years, 5 days a week. But the one thing about Cooper that it's hard to argue with is the fact that when he said something was going to happen, a lot of times it did. Here are some of what I would consider his most famous predictions. This first one, school shootings. And while you're listening to this, think of the operation during the Obama administration, the Fast and the Furious, and what has happened since then.
The government encouraged the manufacture and importation of military firearms for the criminals to use. This is intended to foster a feeling of insecurity, which would lead the American people to voluntarily disarm themselves by passing laws against firearms. Using drugs and hypnosis on mental patients in a process called Orion, the CIA inculcated the desire in these people to open fire on schoolyards and thus inflame the anti-gun lobby.
The next thing I want to show you is William Cooper possibly predicting the invention of cryptocurrencies. Take a listen to this insight.
Well, let me give you a vision of the future. There will be no money. There won't be any driver's licenses. There won't be any insurance cards or anything like that. Everybody will have an account on a computer. Everybody will have a computer chip implant somewhere on their body that will access the computer. Everybody, when they go to work, will get so many credits for that work, and they can go out and wave their little computer chip in their hand or whatever it is under a scanner at the supermarket and buy whatever they've got credits to buy. And if they don't have credits, they got to stay home until they get some credits. What's insane about it is that the American people think that that would be convenient or that that would be good for them. It is the ultimate in-run goal to enslave the populace and to steal what's left that's not already stolen by the elite who are engineering and machinizing all of this stuff to make it come about.
Bill goes on to explain that the debt-based economy that we are currently in is going to force us into a crypto-type currency. Listen to what he said back in the 90s.
The goal of a debt-based economy is not to get caught stealing. And that's what they're doing, stealing the wealth and the substance and the nation right out from under us. And that's the only end result that can come out of a debt-based economy. And the only way that they can't get caught is if the people allow them to go to a cashless system. Then they can never get caught. But if they don't go to a cashless system, eventually the economy will collapse and they're going to get caught. They want to go to a cashless system, and that's why they ultimately have to. Anybody understands how this economy works and what the end result of a debt-based economy where the interest is never created or printed, and the way that it works, have to collapse, or they have to go to a totally cashless system in order that they don't get caught and are able to perpetuate the theft.
He continues to explain what's going on with a debt-based currency as well.
Is to keep creating more money, which creates more inflation, which devalues the value of what everybody is earning and making, and that's why everybody feels more and more strain every year and keeps sucking more and more out of the system through the bogus Internal Revenue Service income tax system so that they can keep from getting caught as long as possible.
Now, this may be what people consider to be Bill Cooper's most important prediction. That would be the attack on 9/11 and the government blaming it on Osama bin Laden. Listen to what he says here on June 28th, 2001, a mere few months away from the tragedy of 9/11.
How about that? They're doing the same thing today with Osama bin Laden, and that's where I've been getting at. Can you believe what you have been seeing on CNN today, ladies and gentlemen? Can you believe it? Supposedly, a CNN reporter found Osama bin Laden, took a television camera crew with him, went into Osama bin Laden's hideout, interviewed him and his top leadership, his top lieutenants and colonels and generals in their hideout. This is a CNN reporter with a camera crew. And he came out and told everybody, within 3 weeks, Osama bin Laden is going to attack the United States and Israel. Now, don't you think that's kind of strange, folks? You see, because the largest intelligence apparatus in the world, with the biggest budget in the history of the world, has been looking for Osama bin Laden for years and years and years, and can't find him. The FBI also, under the leadership of Louis Freeh, has been looking for Osama bin Laden for years and years and years and years and years and many years, and can't find him. Some doofus, jerk-off reporter with a camera crew waltzes right into his hideout and interviews him. And you know what his budget is? Zip, zilch, nothing. Now, that tells us two things. Either everyone in the intelligence community and all of the intelligence agencies of the United States government are blithering idiots and incompetent fools, including the entire apparatus of the FBI and all of their personnel, or they're lying to us. They're not looking for him at all. And the second is the truth. You see, the CIA created Osama bin Laden. They recruited him. They trained him. They found his leadership. They brought them all together. They showed them how to fight the Soviet Union in Afghanistan, and when that was over, they still continued to fund him and train him, and they're now using him to help bring about world government by making him the big boogeyman, because they can't use Saddam Hussein anymore. Did you ever hear of Osama bin Laden before you heard of Saddam Hussein? When did you start hearing of Osama bin Laden? It was after Saddam Hussein and Iraq were supposedly neutralized in the Gulf War, because they needed a new boogeyman. But they're not looking for Osama bin Laden, because I'm telling you right now, if I were the head of the Central Intelligence Agency, within 2 weeks I would have him dead or in custody without fail. Without fail. if I had those assets and that money, he would be mine. I would own his terrorist ass within 2 weeks without fail. A reporter from CNN and his little camera crew got in to Osama bin Laden's secret hideout and conducted an interview. If you don't believe me, tune into CNN. They're probably running it right now as I'm speaking.
He continues to point out the hypocrisy from the intelligence agency as it compares to the CNN reporter.
Do you know how much money the CIA and the National Security Agency and the FBI has at its disposal each year? Do you know how many agents they have that they can devote to this? Do you realize the technology that they have to be able to eavesdrop on every single conversation in the world? No matter how it's transmitted? And pinpoint the location of every one of those transmissions. And they can't find Osama bin Laden, but some CNN reporter, he just waltzes right on in there with his camera crew. Just like he knew where they were all the time. Bet you it was the CIA that sent him there. I told him where he was. And of course they know where he is because they created him. They're the ones that are funding him and backing him and helping him.
Then to provide another layer that all of our allies' intelligence services also could not track Osama bin Laden, but yet a CNN reporter, they could find him.
And supposedly we're not the only nation searching for Osama bin Laden. So the vast economic resources, the vast technological resources, the vast personnel resources, the vast networks and intricate web spun over all these years by the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA can't find Osama bin Laden, but CNN can? Bullshit.
All right, folks, we're up against our second break. We'll continue this special broadcast remembering Milton William Cooper, the host of Hour of the Time. Right after this, stay tuned.
Now sit your butt down.
The John Lebang Show will be right back.
And I promise you'll love it. Yes.
I'd like to take a quick second here to tell you about our new sponsor, Quality One Painting. For interior and exterior painting needs, call Tom at Quality One, 313-982-2986. Tom will give you free estimates, senior discounts, and I can tell you from meeting the gentleman, he's one of the nicest guys on the face of the planet. So for a quality paint job with a professional attitude, call Tom at Quality One Painting. That's 313-982-2986. 313-982-2986. Quality One Painting. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services.
Fans, do you need a video for your brand new song but don't have a lot of money? Then contact John Lebang. His reasonable rates, professional look, and fast turnarounds will help get that song off the ground. Contact him at jlebang.com.
If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now. VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805.
Powerful, epic music by Toothbox Roll. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Now here's John.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue in this dedication show, this remembrance show of Milton William Cooper, the radio broadcaster known for the show The Hour of the Time, the book Behold a Pale Horse, and of course the incredible series Mystery Babylon. Being that Mr. Cooper is no longer with us because of him being killed right outside his home soon after the events of 9/11, we will never be able to actually interview Mr. Cooper. And I thought maybe we could do a virtual interview right here. So, Mr. Cooper, in your own words, tell us about the New World Order and how nobody is safe from them.
And they can go after anybody they want to, including the President of the United States if they want to. And Americans don't understand that. They think we can go after somebody that's the head of a foreign country, but we're still safe. We're not safe. Nobody's safe anymore.
And what does he think about the ultimate end game?
Well, either Americans are going to wake up and they're going to stand up in unison and take up arms and challenge the federal government to step back within the boundaries of the Constitution, or there's going to be a civil war in this country. The only alternative to that is total enslavement of the entire human race on a global scale. Because that's where this is going. This is all about a one-world, totalitarian, socialist government. It's about destroying all existing nation-states, destroying all existing religions, save the religion of those who are bringing this about, which is the secular, humanist, socialist religion.
Could the American people ever wake up?
And they're going to deserve exactly what they get. I have no sympathy for them whatsoever anymore. I used to cry big alligator tears for them in their ignorance, and I used to do everything I could to wake them up. I've drawn my line in the sand, and I'm going to do what's right by God, and I don't give a damn who cares or who likes it or who doesn't, even if it means I have to die on my doorstep.
Did he predict his death? He was accused of a lot of things, including a tax cheat, but he stood up for himself, and this is what he said about it.
Well, I am not a tax fraud or a tax cheat. I pay all legal, lawful, and constitutional taxes, which I am required to pay. I've never defrauded any bank or any person in my entire life, and I will protect my rights with the tools given to me by the founders in case it should ever come to this. And if the rest of the sheeple want to proceed into the pens and get sheared and then continue up the ramp to the slaughter, that's their business.
He also spoke about the police and their compliance with the New World Order.
So if you want to know if they're going to go along with it, yeah, they'll go along with it to get their little paycheck. See, they've sold their country out for what, $20,000 a year, $30,000 a year? That's pretty cheap, isn't it? And for maybe they'll get a retirement check in 20 or 30 years. So they sold their whole country out. They sold their children's future. They sold their grandchildren's future and their great-grandchildren, whom they haven't even seen yet.
And what he thought about the American people and if they were ever going to wake up and think.
They don't think at all. That's why commercials are 30 seconds long. That is the attention span of the average American sheeple. They can't think beyond 30 seconds. That's why no American company, our business, our group, plans ahead more than about 2 or 3 months, right? And that's why we're getting beat by the Marxist socialist communists, because they have 5-year plans, 10-year plans, 15-year plans, 25-year plans, and 50-year plans, and they stick to them. Either the American people are going to become slaves within just a few years, and it's going to be an enslavement like nobody can even dream of, and it's going to extend worldwide, and we're the only people that can stop it, because we're the only people in the world still who have the capability and the arms to be able to stop it. Or there's going to be a civil war which will last between 5 and 15 years to restore constitutional Republican government and freedom and liberty worldwide.
He was very clear that he did not want to see a revolution.
I don't want to happen either. Ever since I saw the plan back in 1971 and 72 when I was on the intelligence briefing team for SINCPAC Fleet to bring about one world totalitarian socialist government, and when I saw that the United States was behind the whole thing, this is not coming from without.
And why don't the people of the United States stand up against all the unconstitutional happenings?
But they're too stupid to do that. They don't understand that the power in this country is the power of the people, and that they don't have to do anything that's outside the bounds of the Constitution. And the government can be held within the bounds, the restraints that the Constitution put upon it, that our founding fathers created so that the American people could never be enslaved. The founding fathers, many of them were deists. They were members of the secret societies. Some of them were members of the Illuminati. They created this country and gave the common man freedom for the first time in the history of the world, made him a king in his own right. They told him what he had to do to keep his freedom and what he would lose if he didn't do it. And when they did this, giving the common man freedom, it toppled all the kings and queens off their thrones all around the world, and that was the major goal of establishing this country. If the common man could have been vigilant and maintained his freedom and not given in to the I want, and I deserve, and you got to feed me, and you got to do this, and you got to take care of me, and change my diaper, and wipe my butt, and get me a job, and entertain me, and all that kind of stuff, which always leads back into what they call democracy, which always leads into socialism, which end goal stated by Marx and Lenin is communism.
They also gave us every tool by which we would destroy ourselves if we weren't capable of doing it. The United States and France, the revolution in this country and the revolution in France, were created to bring about governments which would function as the antithesis to the kings and queens of the world and cause them to topple off their thrones. It also gave man a chance to prove once and for all whether he could rule himself or not. And if he could, fine. That would be the New World Order. If he couldn't, they built the tools into the Constitution to allow them to take it away from us. And those tools are the creation of the federal democracy within the boundaries of Washington, D.C., and the right to contract, through which, if we were irresponsible, we would contract to receive rights from that federal democracy and thus, in return, give up our freedom. And that's exactly what's happening.
He explained what a lawful tax was and an unconstitutional tax was.
A lawful tax would be a state sales tax down at your local grocery store. A lawful tax would be a property tax for which you paid for it with the fiat Federal Reserve notes instead of gold or silver coin. You can't pay off a debt with a debt. So you never really purchase anything in this country, in this debt-based economy, with the fiat Federal Reserve notes. All you do is take possession under a lease, and the ownership stays with the government. That's why you get a warrant deed when you pay off your house instead of the patent title to the property. And that's why you get a certificate of title when you think you paid for your automobile instead of the actual patent title to that property.
And he knew, as well as anybody, the apathy of the American people, and he again was predicting the future.
The American people are standing inside the gates of Disneyland holding their e-ticket, which is expired. None of the rides are working, and they're just having a great time. I didn't say in the next 2 years. I said in the next very few years. I don't have a crystal ball. God does not whisper in my ear. I'm not a prophet, and I'm not a psychic.
Here's his thoughts on the current system of government.
It is not operating within the boundaries of the Constitution. They have thrown the Constitution out. It is treason in operation. There is a subversion of government going on as we speak in the halls of government throughout this country, not just in Washington, D.C.
And voting.
Your vote doesn't mean a damn thing, and if you haven't figured that out yet, then you're too far gone to even be listening to me.
And what he's lost in the effort to get out all this information to the American people.
Head caved in. I've lost my left leg in this fight. We've been shot at. We've been threatened. They've made it so that we couldn't work for anybody. But, you know, that's exactly what happened to the Founding Fathers. They lost everything. They lost their families. They lost their children. They lost their wives. They lost their property. They lost limbs. They lost everything. Well, I believe it was about 3.8% of all the people in the colonies helped found this nation and fought the Revolutionary War to create it and give what they called their posterity liberty and freedom. And the United States government was created to protect the rights of individuals, whether or not they voted. No matter what happened, they were supposed to stay within the bounds of the Constitution and protect the rights of individuals, and guaranteed us in that document constitutional Republican government, not just in Washington, D.C., but in every state, every county, every city of this country.
I have found that at the very heart and core of all these secret societies lurks the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is the ancient Jewish mysticism. It is a method of encoding information through a system of mathematics and numbers. It is some of the most ancient knowledge that man has ever possessed and has been kept secret and given only to those who have proven themselves worthy through the process of initiation. Nobody knows where it comes from. I can tell you this, it was there long before the Jews came along. The Jews just took it and preserved it, and they passed it down, and it's used by everybody. Because it's at the heart and core of the secret knowledge, the metaphysics, the real science that none of us know anything about. These people that belong to the secret societies never dared to write down in any language what they knew, what it was that they were guarding, because then someone could steal it and then the secret would be out. So they devised secret systems of encoding the secrets of the ages, the knowledge, the hidden knowledge, the occult. Now, occult doesn't mean evil. It doesn't mean the devil. It doesn't mean Satan. Occult means hidden. It means hidden. That's all it means. So they took this knowledge and they made it occult through a system of encoding, encryption, one of which is mathematics, numbers. Another is architecture. Everybody wonder, why do they have a fraternal organization called the Freemasons? Aren't those the guys that build walls? You bet they do. But every wall they build contains the secrets that have been kept and maintained throughout the ages, and it's encoded in the architecture and in the measurements of the buildings and in the mathematical formulas used to derive the geometry, the shape, the length and breadth and height of rooms. It's all encoded there.
We've got to take our third time out, ladies and gentlemen, but we'll be right back after this to complete our special broadcast. Milton William Cooper, the host of the Hour of the Time. Stay tuned. Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Because the John Lebang Show will be right back
after this.
That's guaranteed. Yes.
Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning for a beautiful sparkling shine that's crystal clear. Call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
Hey man, you're listening to the John Lebang Show, man.
That's good, because that means you ain't stupid.
All right, folks, in this final segment, I want to bring you some of my favorite moments from William Cooper.
So many people in this country have their heads so far up their ass, I doubt very seriously if they will manage to extricate it before they suffocate.
He knew how to tell you everything you needed to know in just a few short words.
It's these men who belong to the ancient mystery schools who meet in secret and decide the fate of the world. And they belong to all different races and all different nationalities and all different religions to the public point of view. But in secret, it's a different story.
Here's another one of my favorites. William Cooper describing the Constitution and our founding fathers.
You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. For the first time in the history of the world, man was free. Literally, a king and queen in his or her own right. Over the years, that promise has extended to many other peoples. That promise eliminated slavery. That promise has caused poor, unhappy people living under tyranny all over the world to set their eyes on the shores of this country, with only one thought in their mind: to get here however they had to get here, and even if they had to die in the process, in order that they could also be free. And so why, ladies and gentlemen, are we so eager to give it away for some imaginary new world order under a United Nations charter that it will do away with war forever? If you believe that, if you really believe that and you fall for that deception, you'll be so sorry for the rest of your lives.
This next clip might bother a few people because it talks about 666 in the Bible, but if you can get past all that and just listen, it is quite intriguing.
Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, and there are two ways to compute this. Roman numerals give the clue of how to identify the mark of the beast. When the New Testament was written, Rome used a combination of 6 alphabet letters to make up all their numbers, every one of them. The letters are D, C, L, X, V, I. The letter M, representing 1,000, is a more recent invention. Originally, it was CIC, with the right-hand C turned backwards. And by connecting the 2 C's to the I in the middle, it gradually evolved into M. The 6 original Roman numerals and their numerical equivalent values are D equals 500, C equals 100, combine the 2, that is 600. L equals 50, X equals 10, you combine those 2, it equals 60. V equals 5, I equals 1, combine those 2, it equals 6, and they total, in a column, DCLXVI, 666. When we group each of the letters above in order of 2s, we discover the exact fulfillment of Revelation 13, verse 18, exactly as I have just outlined. Applying this scriptural wisdom, we can discover that the kingdom of the beast will be a revival of the old Roman Empire. And I demonstrated that in all of my lectures for the last several years. Whatever nation this kingdom is, the ultimate test for identification comes from understanding his mark or symbol, which is 666, and Scripture says it will be tied to the medium of exchange. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, that Adam Weishaupt established the Illuminati in 1776. Our forefathers, all members of this same secret organization.
Now for this next clip, get out a dollar bill. I'll give you a second. William Cooper is going to explain something you probably don't know about the dollar bill.
Dollar bill from your wallet, and look on the reverse of the Great Seal of the United States. You'll see a pyramid there with 13 courses of stone. On the bottom stone, you will see Roman numerals representing 1776. Now, among these secret societies is a group of men called the Order of the Trapezoid. The trapezoid merely represents a pyramid on top of a pyramid, representing the New Age slogan or philosophy, as above, so below. Whatever is created automatically has its opposite created at the same moment. When our forefathers created this nation under God, and they never told us which God they created it under, They set up, according to their own philosophy, the procedure to seat the Antichrist upon the throne of the world, ladies and gentlemen. And if you take that 1776 MDC CLXXVI and place them around the corners of 3 pyramids, beginning at the top of the first, at the apex, M, D at the lower left, C at the lower right of the first, then go to the second pyramid, C at the apex, L at the lower corner, X at the right lower corner, and then to the third pyramid at the top, X and the lower left, V and the lower right, I, and then draw an inverted pyramid beneath these 3, and going across, adding exactly as we have placed 1776 in the same order that it appears on the lower course of the pyramid on the dollar bill. We now add across the lower legs and place the sum of each at the lower apex of the inverted pyramid underneath the 3. DC is 600. LX is 60. VI is 6. 666. If we go across the top, ladies and gentlemen, we can see the year that the organization that began this great deception and this great enterprise, for they call it the enterprise, we can see the date that they were formed. Going across the very top apex of the 3 top pyramids, we have 1,000 plus 100 plus 10 is the year 1110. In 1110, the Priory de Sion was formed. They, in turn, created the Knights Templar, who in turn has been creating a mess. So that should give you more than enough cause to stay awake tonight.
And in this next clip, William Cooper shows a side of him that he rarely showed. And many of us men rarely show this side, but it's true. We poke fun at women occasionally here on the John Lebang Show, but we like to tell you that this is actually how we feel. William Cooper states it the best, and there's no better way to put it. So ladies, this one's for you. Straight from William Cooper's mouth.
Perhaps, formally, woman in her cramped, distorted position may have shown a clinging, longing, intensely desiring tendency which clutches at whatever extends to her a hope of deliverance from her bondage, and she may extend this desire to her teacher. So that poor, despised woman, following the Nazarene into the Pharisee's home, and in reply to the criticism of the sanctimonious host, he said, quote, "For in that she cast this ointment upon my body, she did it to prepare me for burial," end quote. And when a man is slowly working himself free from his inherent evils, and coming to the last grand passion through which he lays them down forever, who is it that senses the meaning of the price that he pays? Some man? Some man? They all forsook him and fled. Peter denied him 3 times on that night. Only woman stood by him from the beginning to the end. Only woman stood by him from the beginning to the end. And when the struggle between the man and the angel comes on in the human soul, it is only woman who understands. When I was in great need and alone, Annie came to me. Her understanding and her loyalty has taught me more than any other person living upon the face of this earth. When she was working to her very capacity, and I was strained in mine, and I needed someone desperately to assist me in this great quest that I've set for myself, in this great task, who came? Who was it that came to help me? It was a woman. It was Carolyn Nelson. And she's still here. under the workload, fielding all the telephone calls, answering all the questions, putting up with my absolute need for near perfection in everything, and sometimes my temper when I don't get it. Who is it that warms your hearth and keeps your home? Who is it that puts up with your inadequacies? Who is it that teaches all of us men gentleness? Who is it that slows us down? Who is it that causes us to rest when we would not, but we need rest so very badly? But woman. Who is it that bears our children in pain? Who is it that stands with us through thick or thin? Who is it that when no one else in this world understands us, our cares, causes us to lay our heads upon her breast and understands from the depth of her soul and gives to us an empathy that we can find nowhere else but woman? Men and women are different. Men and women provide different things to each other that are absolutely necessary for life within each and every one of us. Woman needs man. Man needs woman. Nothing will ever change that. No philosophy of political correctness, no New World Order, no church, no government, no force upon the face of this earth will ever change that. Every man who does not have a woman spends 95% of his time looking for one, and God help the woman if he finds one. 95% of all women spend 95% of their time looking for the right man. And I'm here to tell you folks, from my experience in my own life, if you marry a man before he is at least at the age of 36, you're asking for big trouble. For we just don't seem to get it all together until around that time. I shudder to think what this world would be like without woman. I believe sincerely in my heart that it is woman that civilized man. I believe that without the need of the woman for security, during the time that she is bearing the child, there would never have been a first city. Think about that. I want you all to think about that, and for all the women who have been in my life in any capacity, I thank you from the deepest depths of my heart, and I hope sincerely, ladies and gentlemen, that they never, ever leave.
Folks, I wish we could take more time to delve more into Mr. William Cooper, but we've run out of this week's 60 Minutes. Please go to our website, that's www.jlebang.com, to find out more about William Cooper. Please Google him. You may find some of the information that he conveyed to his listeners to be much more profound than you ever realized. I'd like to thank all of our affiliate stations carrying the John Lebang Show, and of course, you, the listener. For without you, no one would be tuning in, and I would have just done an hour of radio for nothing. Remember to tune in next week. We have author and rock and roll historian Mr. Derek Shelmerdine joining us for what might be the greatest ever rock and roll unraveled, the best 100 albums of all time. That'll be in the first hour. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, this is John Lebang signing off from the Banger Studios.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance is futile.